From the beginning of time, there have been those few among us whose skill and courage have earned them the highest awards. This is the story of one such man, Wembley of the Empire. Our story reaches back in time to the hidden treasures of the Pharaoh. It is a story filled with action, daring, and the innermost secrets of high technology. Above all else, it is the story of two men in conflict. Wembley, called upon to save the Empire. And his lifelong enemy, Wormwood, out to destroy it. It begins in a place and time not far distant from our own, a place of systems and great order. A time when electronics is reaching its fullest flower. And all manner of things can be imagined and done. Designing and drafting. Computing and integrating. Controlling and processing. All made possible by the Empire's Board Number 1. And then the unthinkable happens. The very heart of the Empire ceases to beat.
Wembley, sir.
Wembley, the Empire needs your help. You stood by me when Wormwood led the Great Rebellion. And now, you're the only one I can trust with this mission. The situation is grave, Wembley. There's been an attempt to sabotage the Empire. Board Number 1 has been seriously damaged. Now, there are only 3 technicians in the universe who have a security clearance high enough to work on this board. Any one of them can give you the information you need, since each one is a master of the craft. The Empire placed their names and whereabouts in sealed dossiers. But as you can see, that secret data is now missing from the files. Wormwood's behind this. You've got to watch out for him, Wembley.
Well, sir, give me a crack at repairing that board. I'll fix it somehow.
Not so fast, Wembley. It can't be fixed just somehow. It has to be fixed right. No, Wembley, you're not ready for that one yet. 48 layers. Someone's got to teach you how first.
Well, I don't understand, sir.
As you know, the Empire maintains a few historic parks on old planets, like planet Earth. There we preserve whole areas, just as they were in the past. Now, all 3 of the technicians that you will be seeking are to be found there undercover. Start with a man named Diggins. He was last heard from in Cairo. You must find him, Wembley.
Very well, sir. You can count on me.
Wait, take these with you. These are training boards designed to simulate the problems you'll be facing in repairing the big one.
Anything else, sir?
Yes. Hurry.
Excuse me. I wonder if you could direct me to...
The museum is closed. Come back tomorrow.
I'm looking for someone they call Diggins. I need his help. I brought...
Let me guess. You are a dealer in antiquities, fearful that some magnificent treasure for which you paid so dearly was made only last week in the back alleys of Cairo. No. I know. You're about to dig in the desert and need to know about permits and supplies. How much baksheesh to pay your native workers.
You are Diggins. I found you.
And you?
Wembley of the Empire. The Empire's board number 1 has been damaged.
Sounds like the work of Wormwood.
It is.
What's this?
Training boards. If you can train me to fix the Empire's board on these, you'll save us all.
Yes, they'll do quite well.
Diggins, we've got to hurry.
All right, Wembley. In here. By the way, be ready for some surprises.
What's this?
Just in case the drama doesn't work.
Well, hardly what you'd expect in ancient Egypt.
It's just another one of the Pharaoh's treasures. So what have you worked on up to now, Chumley?
It's Wembley, sir.
Oh.
So far I've worked on single and double-sided boards, but no multi-layer ones yet.
Been trained then in replacing surface conductors, repairing plated through holes?
Right.
So you know what is always our very first step in repair? Study the board. Now this one's a multi-layered one with 6 layers of circuitry sandwiched together. It's laminated epoxy glass with through board and interlayer connections made by a plated through-hole process.
You're going to see a great variety of boards in this work. Every one of these is a multi-layered one, but they've each come from different systems. And of course, we'll always wear a wrist grounding strap whenever we're working on any populated board. It may be electrostatically sensitive.
Now let's assume it's a small section of the Empire's board. We've already removed the surface components, and our problem is located 3 layers down.
An open conductor. This illustration shows the inside of a multi-layer board. This circuitry is on the top surface of the board. This is the second layer, and this is the third layer with the open circuit in the conductor. We will dig down from the top to the second layer, temporarily remove a section of this conductor since it crosses our area, and then dig down to the third layer. There we replace the damaged area with a new piece of copper conductor and then rebuild the board layer by layer back up to the top.
Diggins, is this going to take long? I may have been followed.
Patience, Wembley. Patience is the substance of this work. When I'm on the microscope, you can watch what I'm doing in that monitor. The microscope. We begin with a 10 power magnification, good for seeing the entire area. Then when we excavate, we will use 20 power. First, you adjust the eyepieces. And then the focus. First coarse, and then fine. Take a look, Wembley. There is our world. Keep watching while I bring over a very sharp surgeon's scalpel. You see it yet?
No, Diggins, I don't see it.
Well, of course you can't. Not until now, when I've put it right over the work. We will be using very sharp tools, not only scalpels, but these as well. Excavation tools, like this one for chiseling, and this one for removing oxides. So record another note, Chumley. Always place the tools over the work before you look through the microscope. If you don't, you can cut your hands or you can cause further damage to the work. Now, a safe place for the scalpel is in a holder. There it will stay sharp and be safely out of the way. Now we design our excavation. Hold on a second. I have something in the other room which may help us. Here we are. Now, we will progress by steps. First, scribing off the area, and then removing all the material until we get to the bottom of the second layer. And here we will find an obstacle in the path. Directly over where we must dig, there is a conductor running from side to side. To go further down, we must temporarily remove a portion of the conductor. Cut it from here to here. The cuts will be made with a scalpel, each cut on a 45-degree angle, like this. And then we'll remove the piece of copper conductor and save it. So we'll have it later to put back in. And to protect these ends from damage as we dig further down, we'll cover them with a bit of solder. Then we continue our excavation, dimensioning the new area so that as we go down, we create this staircase of layers from top to bottom. And here, on the third layer, is where we find and replace our damaged conductor. Now, you may ask, why do we do this excavation in a stepwise fashion? Why don't we cut straight down from top to bottom? Now, we do it this way so that when we rebuild each layer with epoxy, layer by layer, having these steps all around will show us exactly how high each layer should come. Did it ever strike you, Wembley, how much of this world we owe to the simple act of digging? Oh, think of it, man. Water and food, oil, gold, and precious stones. Yes, the humble spade may be our finest tool. Now, let's go to work. For the record, the tool we will begin with is a tiny ball mill, chucked and turning precisely in a microsheen unit. Now, be careful with this. It removes the substrate very rapidly, so take care it doesn't nick or cut the conductors just below the surface. And now, before we start, we'll take the double-end explorer, place the tip in where we'll be able to see it, and begin to scribe the boundaries of the area to be removed. The boundary should be large enough to allow us to do the work easily, but not so large that it expands the work area to a point where it increases the complexity of the repair. Now, you should note that we'll need to increase our magnification for milling. So we put on the accessory lens to take us from 10 power to 20 power magnification. Now we sweep back and forth with the ball mill. Now we know there's a conductor in our way on the second layer, so we'll start directly over it, going down as close as possible to determine its exact depth. Now very carefully here, and down a little bit, then out a ways, then down a little more. Now, we don't want to risk nicking or gouging the conductor. is close enough.
Well, now how do we know?
Well, we can flush the area with a solvent and a brush. Make the area transparent. I'll make another note. We put up the mill at this time. You see, it wouldn't do to let it come in contact with the conductor. We switch now to a lap flow tool. We set the temperature of the tip so it is just hot enough to overcure the substrate, but not so hot as to burn it. Here you can see the substrate coming up, but there's no smoke and no burning. You see how easily it removes the epoxy? And here, I'm actually touching the conductor without damaging it. Now we want to square up the sides. And for this, we use a chisel. However, we want to leave the corners slightly rounded for ease of epoxy replacement. Now we carefully cut straight edges and a smooth base. This is critical for rebuilding the substrate to its original dimensions. This excavator is used to remove copper oxide from the surface of the conductor.
Why is the copper oxide there?
Well, copper oxide improves bonding between laminates. This happens as part of the manufacturing process. We remove it now because it's non-solderable. Now we gently move the tool back and forth across the conductor. We want to completely expose the virgin copper surface. There. We've removed all the oxide.
It sure takes a long time.
You can't hurry this kind of work, Wembley. When you do, you may nick the conductors. And then you'll spend twice as much time because you'll have a lot more to repair.
Did you hear something?
No. Now, we're ready to make the cuts and remove the conductor. We'll make the first cut right here, a bevel cut. And on this side, we will angle the blade to give us an overcut, rocking the blade back and forth until we're through. Now, on this side, we will angle the blade the same way to give us an undercut that makes replacement easier. We'll get to all that later. To loosen the bond between the conductor and the laminate, we'll carefully apply a little heat from our lap flow tool. There. With the lap flow tool and the side of the scalpel, we'll pry it up gently and lift it free. Now we will remove the conductor with a pair of tweezers. Now, we don't want to lose this tiny piece since we'll want to put it back later. So it goes onto a piece of static-free tape to keep it out of harm's way. There. Next, we'll make sure that all the copper oxide has been removed from the surface of the conductor. Here's another excavator we can use, shaped like a teardrop. Next, we need to protect the cut ends of the conductor, so we'll pre-tin them with a generous drop of solder. And that way there's less risk of damaging them with further excavation. Now then, Wembley. Wembley? What are you doing?
I've got this feeling, Diggins. I don't like it. Wormwood's out there.
Wormwood? So soon? How would he find us?
I don't know. But he's out there. He's not far away.
Nonsense. Yeah, let's get back to work. Now we step down to the next level, on the broken track. You'll see I've already scribed the boundary for the next excavation. Remember to start over the top of the conductor and work outward. Only a little bit down. And then a little working out. Then down a little further. When we get nearly down to the conductor, we'll switch to the lap flow tool and remove the last bit very slowly and carefully. Pay attention!
I don't like it. It's Wormwood again. I know it. He's out there somewhere.
Now there's a job of excavation. A miniature staircase with cleanly squared off sides. These steps key us visually to each level so we can rebuild the layers exactly, one on top of the other.
Now, see, I told you Wormwood was out there.
I believe you're right. We're done for here, Wembley. It's up to you now.
Who's going to teach me the rest?
The Flying Circus.
What?
Find J. Johnson of the Flying Circus.
Well, what about you?
Don't worry. I'll manage. I'll manage.